Hello everyone, it's Steelix, the long-headed anime freak. So, I've been wanting and meaning to do a top 5 underrated Naruto characters. I know this topic has been used many times in the past, but I always thought it would be fun to make my own approach of what characters I believe that were most underrated, or just underrated in general. And yeah, we're going to start things off with Conqueror. Conqueror from the original series in part 1. He was just a cool character. He did his thing, he gave us fights, and he was Gaara's brother. And that was pretty much it. Like, the plot really never surrounded him with any great potential. But I was always interested in the idea what inspired him to become a puppet master. Why did he want to begin with? And if so, who gave him permission to wield Sasori's puppets after he left and deserted the Hidden Sand Village? Because you would think Sasori's puppets would be in some kind of museum of the sand or something, you know, to witness the greatness of Sasori before he became a mass killer. But no, Conqueror just got Sasori's puppets like they were nothing, and you would think Sasori, who is technically a legend in the Hidden Sand, his puppets would be somewhere on sale for money or a museum or something for people to look at the greatness of Sasori, the puppet master, before he became, you know, a psychopath. But no, it was just given to Conqueror, and Conqueror was only 14 in the original series. And it's just really interesting to me. I really want to know what inspired him to become a puppet master, and why Sasori's puppets to begin with. Who gave him permission to own the puppets? Like little things like that. I feel like Conqueror is a mystery character, and like as a character-wise, there's really nothing to really dissect because he wasn't really set up to be anything besides Gaara's older brother, and he wields Sasori's puppets. There was not like any importance of him of being related to a certain clan or the greatness of Conqueror. I just think knowing more about his life and what inspired him to go in that direction as a shinobi, and how did he get Sasori puppets to begin with, that's all I'm really asking. And yeah, you can maybe give him like 1 or 2 fights after the Gaara arc. You know, he could have been more involved in the war. You know, like we see him take down Sasori and Deidara with Sai, but that wasn't like a real personal character growth for Conqueror. And he had some strong dialogue with Sasori, but I'm just talking about like a mini backstory for Conqueror in general, or just maybe one personal fight, no one else helping him, or something like that. Because in the war, he had like 1 fight and that was it, but it didn't really like develop him as a character. He was just there to redeem Sasori, which I feel like Sasori should have never been brought back for redemption. I feel like even Sasori's death, despite how you feel about it, I feel like his death made more sense there than him being brought back and then have a redemption with Conqueror. That kind of felt a bit forced, but I always feel like Conqueror was a really, really cool character in part 1 that just needed some backstory and a little more information about him. But other than that, I don't think a lot of people really care about his character, but I feel like he was underrated in that aspect, surrounded by a little bit of mystery, and that was pretty much it. I can't really think of anything else of the greatness of Conqueror. He was just a really cool character. Now we're going to move on to Shino. As you guys remember, when I made that video recently about how the side characters matter in Naruto and not Naruto should have been the main focus, because the side characters had potential to outshine Naruto. The story focused more on him, but at some point we all wanted more of the side characters than Naruto's main character. And Shino wasn't a character I really talked about in the video, simply because Shino, like Conqueror, he wasn't set up with anything. There's not really the what ifs or the possibility of Shino Omurame. You know, he gave us a cool fight with Conqueror in part 1, and that was pretty much it. We know he's from a very strong clan in the Hidden Leaf, and you could say we could give him a character arc or 1 or 2 fights in the series, but Shino was not really set up to be anything of what could have been for him. That's why I said if Neji was the main character at some point in the series, the only thing I can think about for Neji, for his character arc to be the main focus, is to fix his clan's issues with Hinata, because that was the only awareness that we had for Neji in part 1. And after that, I can't think of anything else for Neji. That's the only thing I could think about him, is helping Hinata fix their clan's issues that was like on their conscience for years. You know, the disrespect Hinata was getting, and the hatred Neji had with his clan about his truth with his father. Like, we know that they fixed things down the line, but it would be cool to have Neji to have that own character arc. That's why I feel like if there was anything to give to Neji, that would have been it. But as for Shino, there's no material of what could have been for his character in Shippuden, for like a whole story or a character arc. You know, and Shino doesn't seem like he had any kind of a dark past. He had his father with him. I'm pretty sure he has his mother. I don't think we've ever seen his mother, but I feel like Shino, like Sakura, lived a normal life. and people criticize Sakura for living a normal life that didn't really push her over the edge. That's why Naruto and Sasuke motivate her to find what she wanted. And Shino, I think, as well, like Ino and Sakura, he just lived a normal life. There was really no any traumatizingness in his life, and he seemed like he was a very good person in part one. But since there's nothing to lead to anything, there's no possibilities or a gateway of what we can fix for Shino as a character. So, in my opinion, give him some fights, or let him just be there doing something irrelevant in Shippuden. Because you can't just force something random on a character just to have a backstory for no reason. Like, there had to have been something there to lead to something. You know, you can't just throw in a random event just to make Shino look cool. You know, it has to be part of the story. That's why some people don't like when characters are put into certain situations just to make them look cooler or just to make them shine in general. Like, you have to have something there to care about the character, feel for the character. Don't just give something to Shino just for the sake of doing it. There had to have been something there to relating to the actual story. But since there's nothing really there, I can only say so much about Shino. I feel like just give him a couple fights and that would have been it, because he won every fight. I think he won every fight in filler as well. And that's pretty much it. I feel like Shino could have been there just to exist more in Shippuden. I can't think of anything else. Like, he was just not set up for anything in part one, like Conqueror. But now we're going to move on to Uruka. Obviously, Uruka was not set up for anything. He was just a father figure to Naruto, and I feel like we need more heartwarming moments with him and Naruto besides just eating out to ramen and catching up. Like, Uruka was not meant to be a strong person. He even admitted that to Naruto during the war when he gave him that note, just come back alive. Uruka was only ranked Chunin at the highest. He wasn't Kakashi or a guy's level at all. He was just there to do his job and be a father figure to Naruto and carry basic missions out. Like, Pain almost killed him, while Kakashi was able to handle Pain a little bit. And that's it. That's really it. Like, I feel like we just needed more screen time with him and Naruto catching up and talking about personal things besides meeting up at the restaurant. Like, them have like a small mission together, or talking about the little things that Uruka did for him while growing up and caring about him. There had to have been something else for him to have like this personal connection to Naruto. And we get that. You know, he obviously felt Naruto's pain because he was, you know, an orphan as well. His parents were killed by the Nine Tails. And you could say that we can get closer to that, but just because Uruka viewed Naruto as his younger brother, it doesn't mean like they had like a brother connection. You know, he just claimed that because he felt like he was responsible for him while he was growing up. But I kind of feel like if we can get more of that connection outside of ramen, and like I said, going out to a mission or something, or for them to like get closer, that would also work. But I feel like Uruka, he's just an underrated character because he wasn't really received well for the plot of the story. He just did his thing, caring for Naruto, and I feel like we just needed a bit more out of him. And that's pretty much it. Like, he's a very loving person. He cared for people who were not so strong. He cared for Naruto because he wasn't so strong at the time either, and he was also weak, and he understood the pain of being alone and stuff like that. Like, Uruka was just that nice character. But since he was not set up for anything, I can't think of anything else besides getting a little bit more screen time with him and Naruto, besides eating ramen. But that's really for you guys to decide. I feel like Uruka was just a loving person, and that was pretty much it. He just needs some more screen time. Now then, Shizune. Shizune was a character that actually almost killed Kabuto in part 1, and I kind of feel like Shizune had a lot more to show because she was Tsunari's student, to my knowledge. Like, we don't have any history between those two. We never got a backstory how they met. We know that she's connected to Dan, but that's pretty much it. But I kind of feel like Shizune could have been a very strong female lead because, for one, she was educated on medical stuff like Sakura, and she, like I said, almost could have damaged Kabuto. And I'm not saying that she was built to be a strong female character. I feel like there could have been something there for Shizune besides just, you know, being the assistant. And she still seemed like she had potential in the original series, but in Shippuden, she just existed helping with Tsunari with paperwork. But since we've seen her in action in part 1, it felt like she could have done something more. But she didn't, and it was kind of a waste. I feel like Shizune is underrated because there could have been something there for her than just being Tsunari's servant and her aide. That's just my opinion. Like I said, a character no one probably cares about, but I felt like after what we saw her actions of what she could do in part 1, there could have been something there relating to the Akatsuki or going on certain missions that, I mean, she's not useless, she's very useful. But that's just it. I feel like she could have just done more, and no one really appreciates her. But that's just my opinion. I'm usually talking about characters people don't talk about. That's why I'm saying they're underrated. I just would have loved more out of them. Now then, as for the final underrated character, Taiyua, I feel like out of everyone else in the Sound Ninja 4 or 5 with Kibimaru, Taiyua should have been the one that should have lived out of them. With Taiyua's unique genjutsu ability, she could have done something really interesting for the plot in part 2. Like you don't even have to agree with me on this. I kind of feel like Taiyua would have been an interesting choice to choose to carry on Shippuden, because she was actually, in my opinion, one of Kishimoto's best accomplishments as the female character. She was useful, she had a cool attitude, knowing that she's very brave and she doesn't give a shit what anyone thinks. She has a very mean attitude, which convinces me that she could probably be brave to fight one of the Akatsuki members. And she kind of reminds me of Hidan, you know, a character that like throws any kind of shade that they can at their opponent, and she'll give them death if she wants to give them death, like Hidan. And I don't know, I feel like Taiyua was a really cool female character that could have been there for something in Shippuden. And obviously she doesn't have to be everywhere in Shippuden, like she has to die eventually, but at least contribute something with her, with Orochimaru or Kabuto. I kind of feel like Taiyua could have been really useful in some kind of part or mini arc with Orochimaru, because as we all can agree, Shippuden kind of threw away Orochimaru, so having one Sound Ninja 4 member with Orochimaru having some kind of plot involving with Orochimaru, that would have been cool for her. But I don't know, it's just my opinion. I feel like Taiyua was really cool, really badass, and her genjutsu powers were really creative as well. But that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think. I'm D-Lux, subscribe if you want, and yeah, welcome to my shonen manga magazines that were very popular from the early 2000s. They're rare. I don't know what they're worth, but I've had these things for years. Alright, have a good night. Bye.